This is the High School Crossfire. Welcome back.
Resolve. This House blames National Planning Authority for underdevelopment in Uganda. In tonight's debate, we come and see team affirmative versus team negative. The team affirmative come and tell team negative that yes, it is work of National Planning Authority to plan, but it also has other roles, which include monitoring and evaluating the effectiveness of the plans that have been put in place. Their first negator comes and says that planners plan and builders build. But we come and say they are forgetting that planners have to supervise to ensure that their plan has been put in place. So, team negative come and say that, come and ask for the act that shows that National Planning Authority implements. And we said that no, National Planning Authority does not implement, but it is its role to monitor and follow up. Because as my first man said, the planning process, step number 5, which includes implementation and follow-up, monitoring and controlling and evaluating what is on paper and what has been put on place. If what has been put in place is not what is on paper, then they have failed to achieve their role. They come and talk about political factors such as government policies. Denied.
You still...
They come and talk about government policies. They come and talk about government policies as political factors. But you come and say that it is the role of the National Planning Authority to advise the president on policies and strategies for development of Uganda, as clearly stated by my first affirmer. Allowed.
Can you tell us incidences where the National Planning Authority has failed to advise the parliament or the government?
We have said it as well. Take an example of the PDM. They gave the money to the people by not telling them. They don't promote awareness of the PDM money. As my first farmer came and said, people took the PDM money as tokens of appreciation, which means the National Planning Authority not play its role in advising the people and promoting awareness of the cause of the PDM money. And it's not used for its effectiveness. So they failed in planning. They come and talk about corruption. But we come and clearly say that basing on the planning process, and step 5 particularly, that states that it is their role to implement, follow up, monitor, control, and evaluate what is on paper and what has been put in place. It shows that if they are going to that National Planning Authority is be paying for the corruption as well, because if you are to plan, it means that they're supposed to put in place the body that is to implement their plans. So it's our role to follow up this body and monitor to show that the body is carrying out its role. So if the body they are put in place is not executing its role, it is their role to find out why it's not executing its role. In this world, that's why we say that corruption is to be blamed on National Planning Authority. And in general, we are blaming National Planning Authority for underdevelopment in Uganda. They come and ask for our source of information, but we come and tell them that our source of information was www.nationalplanningauthority.com.ug. I said by my first
POI.
Allowed.
Can a perfect planned project go on without being funded?
Can it be there without being implemented or being monitored? It cannot. That's why we come as team affirmative tonight and say that team negative has failed to understand the roles of National Planning Authority because they have clearly based on implementation, leaving aside their failure to coordinate and harmonize development planning in the country, their failure to monitor and evaluate effectiveness and impact of development programs and performance of the economy, the failure of the National Planning Authority to advise the president on policies and strategies for development of Uganda, for their failure to evaluate the government performance in liaison with the private sector and identify and fill gaps in the government policies and programs. That's why we come and say in tonight's debate that National Planning Authority is to be blamed for the development in Uganda. And I will clearly repeat the planning process, since for team negative, to come and tell us why it should not. I'd like to rest my case.
According to Opportunity International, nearly 50% of children don't complete primary school in Uganda. World Bank states that the growth of the economy is estimated at 6%. Still, according to World Bank, maternity rate in Uganda is at 284 per 100,000 live births. So that's the state of underdevelopment we are talking about. Naito Edmond, third negator. Clash points. NPA is to implement. Planning for development. Follow-up. Corruption is a responsibility of the NPA. National Planning Authority has failed its role of monitoring. Role of NPA. Awareness. Ladies and gentlemen, As Team Negative, we don't align with Team Affirmative that the National Planning Authority has really failed its role, because we are seeing that we evaluated and told the government that only 17% of National Development Plan 3 was achieved, which means there was assessment and evaluation. Then they went ahead and said that rejected that National Planning Authority is to implement, but according to Article 15 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda in 2002, the primary role of NPA is to design plans. Ladies and gentlemen, so we win the debate on those grounds that Team Negative failed to understand the roles of the National Planning Authority. We went ahead and told them that good plans can't be implemented if they are underfunded. Ladies and gentlemen,
Honorable POI, is the architect meant to monitor the builder workmanship?
I understand. Is the architect meant to monitor? Ladies and gentlemen, you see the total confusion in Team Affirmative.
POI.
On a site, we have an architecture and an engineer. An engineer is to implement. An architecture is to design. So they are confusing the role of an engineer with the role of an architecture. So that's where we are having the problem. Team Affirmative have clearly failed to understand the roles of the National Planning Authority.
POI.
And we highlight the failure to understand the roles of the National Planning Authority as a major argument and a clash point to the reason why we should win this debate. Because for us, we clearly understood, we have seen the National Planning Authority working. That's why we have the National Development Plans 1, 2, and 3. And now we have the National Planning Authority 4.
POI.
So, rejected.
Honorable POI.
Please rest. According to the Observer of February 19, 2025, members of Parliament on the Budget Committee have raised concerns over discrepancies between government stated priority sectors that are sectors of the economy. According to the report, key sectors such as agro-industrialization, tourism, minerals, are the major minerals, including oil and gas, are the major factors, or are the major economies are the major factors of the economy. But what are we seeing? The government is spending much of its money on facilitating politics and facilitating the army to go and fight foreign battles. So the sectors have been, the factors of the sectors that are driving the economy have been ignored. As the National Planning Authority, we have designed good programs. For example, the projects in National Development Plan 4 include community-driven development, local development management and service delivery, community agriculture and improvement. That's where the PDM comes in. The one that Team Affirmative is saying, it has clearly failed because the government has not that awareness. That's because they lack knowledge, because there is awareness that is aired on UBC every weekend, every Saturday at 7:30. You can go and check. There is awareness of the PDM where the successes are highlighted and the failures. So, as Team Negative, we believe we win the debate on the grounds that we executed our roles and understood the roles of the NPA. I beg to rest.
This is the High School Crossfire. We'll be back in a minute.